old, soon to be 24. I actually live in Shepherd's Bush. I'm Pakistani. I was born in England and I have just graduated as a physiotherapist. So in the middle of a job hunt into the physio world and the NHS world. So, I mean, what a coincidence. It happened to be I dislocated my pinky finger and I was in year 8, so it was through netball at school. I went to the hospital, then had 2 months worth of physio. From that, I felt like I really deeply connected with the physiotherapist who I had. The quality she had, the care and the empathy she had towards me, and also the other patients around me. I felt like I really related to those, and she was she inspired me to take an interest and to actually explore what physiotherapy is and to understand the world of physio. So yeah, that's kind of what initiated and sparked that interest. Well, firstly, I think one of the things is diversity. I think one of the things we lack in the NHS in the physio world is diversity, and I actually did my dissertation on that, and there's just not enough Muslims or students or physios of the BAME background in that area in physio. So I really would like to bring and advocate for increasing the BAME world in physio. As well as that, I think caring, and I mean my religion teaches me to care for people, to really look after them, and in a way I feel like I'm saving a life, which is a really great feeling. So yeah. I'd say I had my fair share of kind of growing up here with different kind of experiences. In primary school, I mean, it was great. I was living my great childhood dream. And then as I started to get older, I went to school in Chiswick, and I felt like I struggled a little bit with friends. I think each year I was kind of in and out of friendship groups. And I think overall that kind of had quite a big impact on me, because I felt like I didn't quite fit in with one group, but then I didn't fit in with the other groups. So I think growing up in West London in an area growing up was predominantly white, going to a school in a predominantly white area, I felt slightly isolated, which didn't feel the best, but other than that, I mean, we have great food here, great food choices in West London, so it's been amazing. And I think growing up now, by seeing loads of different cultures, it's been amazing. So I think there were a range of things. In primary school through to secondary school, I always had that thing of different friendships, and I felt like the first time I really felt that was probably when I was actually in year 5. Which I feel like was quite young actually to feel something like that. I felt like no one wanted to be my friend, which is, as a child, you want to be friends with everyone, don't you? And then kind of, I think I came to understand that everyone's different, everyone has their own life, everyone has their own friendship groups. Then going into secondary school, I'd probably say that I actually started to feel that around year 8, and I think I felt that throughout my entire time through to sixth form, where in my final year, in year 13, I kind of isolated myself. I took a step back from everything, and I just wanted to be alone. I would go to lessons by myself, I'd study by myself, and I think also as well as that, I also faced a lot of exam pressure, and I put a lot of pressure on myself during exam periods, exam seasons, where I think everything in my life just heightens at that point, where I'm a couple months coming into an exam and I feel like I don't know something, but actually I do, but I don't trust myself. And it just it sends you in a big spiral, because you're going through so many different things. I think you're navigating this life as a teenager of okay, I felt like I didn't embrace my culture in secondary school or in primary school, and I think that's because I sort of wanted to fit in. People would make nasty comments about me growing up in secondary school, and those things sit by me today, and I wish I could go back and tell my younger self that it's okay. I mean, I'm happy to share kind of an example, is that in I think it was year 10 or year 11, I'd heard from a group of friends that a couple people were saying that, oh, Ameerah's got a moustache, Ameerah's got sideburns, oh, your sideburns aren't as big as Ameerah's. And I think to me, as a 15-year-old girl who was surrounded by people who had no idea about Asian genetics, Asian genes, and me also not being aware of Asian genetics and Asian genes, I just wanted to crumble. I think that's where my lower points started to come throughout my school period, and I felt so lonely. It was really, really, really hard to hear people make comments like this on a daily basis, and not understand why do I have features like this and no one else does? Why is it that all my friends I either had friends who were black or friends who were white, and I didn't have any Asian friends. So kind of at that time, I didn't know that this was normal. This is how our genes are, this is how we're made. And if I could go back and tell my younger self anything, would be to just ignore the hate, ignore these comments. They don't understand my life, they don't understand my culture, and I think if I had known that as a child, I don't think I would have been affected by it as much, especially growing up and going into uni. I think it's something that I carried with me. I actually, even now, I feel like it's something I always carry with me, and it's something I'm so conscious of because it was something that I had to face quite often. I feel like no one should have to feel that way, and if I could speak to any Asian girl right now, it would be to just don't go and do that bleaching on your face, don't go and wax your face, like don't do those things that are going to harm your skin, because it's okay, it is normal. Don't let people be mean to you. Yeah. For me, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself. I think although my family were very open for me to coming up to them, I just couldn't. I don't know what it was, and I still face actually. I don't know why I feel like I can't open up, and I think I fear the judgment, and I fear the comeback that I'll get from opening up, or what will they say. I think these thoughts just run around in my head, like what are they going to say, what are they going to think, what are they going to do if I say these things. So it wasn't until year 12, which is when I actually had first opened up to someone about it. It was actually one of my school teachers. Actually, all my teachers were amazing. They all really acknowledged my anxiety, and they acknowledged my fears, particularly around exams, because that was insane. And it wasn't until year 12 where I had one of my PE teachers. I also played netball with her outside of school. She noticed that I wasn't eating, and she noticed that I had become very isolated and I'd kept myself to myself. And she'd actually come up to me and she was like, Ameerah, like, are you okay? And I remember the exact moment because we were about to go on pitch to play a game of netball. And she's like, Ameerah, you look so pale. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Like, I'm fine. It's okay. No one worry about me. And she was like, Ameerah, you are not okay. You look like you're going to vomit. And then I did vomit. I hadn't eaten for like a week, I think. I'd have little nibbles. I'd kind of look to mum and dad that like, yeah, I'm eating, put in a little bit of food in my plate, and then just walk away and not eat, which is something I don't recommend at all. That was the first time, and I had said to her that, like, listen, I am feeling so anxious. I'm just filled with anxiety. Everything I think about, everything I do, I'm just surrounded by all these different thoughts, and every time I want to eat, I feel like I'm going to vomit, but I know I'm hungry and I know I want to eat. So she had said to me to go to the doctors, call the doctors up. I was 16 at that point, so I could call the doctors and book an appointment for myself. And I went and did that, had a discussion with the GP, and they said, okay, like, it sounds like you have anxiety. They wanted to offer me medication. However, I said that I haven't spoken to my parents about this yet. No one knows apart from my teacher. And it's something that I want to consider. I don't know if I want to take medication or not until I've spoken to my parents, which was another big kind of barrier to overcome as well in my head. went to school, let the teacher know what happened, and she was like, okay, Ameerah, either you tell your parents or I am, because as a safeguarder, she has that responsibility. So that night I went home and had what seemed like the biggest, scariest conversation of my life with my parents. I sat there and I said, sorry, it's actually quite funny. I sat there and I said, just to let you guys know, like, I went to the doctors, they said I have anxiety and that I might need medication, but it's okay, like, I'll be fine. And I walked upstairs. And they called me back down and they're like, Ameerah, you can't just go and have that conversation and walk away. I think initially they were, in my head, they seemed annoyed. They seemed angry, and I think I was scared of that. I was scared that, what are they going to do by me saying something? And then, yeah, then they kind of like opened up this discussion, and that's where kind of the conversation started to happen in the family. I was terrified, honestly. I think initially going into that appointment, I thought, oh, they're not going to think anything by it. I'm just a teenager. Like, this is what teenagers face. That's kind of what was running through my head. And then having this conversation, talking about what I didn't realize at the time was panic attacks. And when he mentioned medication, I think in my head, alarm bells are ringing. I was like, medication, like, is something wrong with me? I think that's what I was thinking. I think I didn't know how to respond. I think at that time I actually didn't know what to say. I was just like, right, okay. I don't think it was just pure silence. And it was me trying to understand what the impact of that medication was. Was it something that would help me? Were there other options? I think that was the key thing in my head was, why are we going straight to anxiety medication? Are there no other options? Actually, before that, I was also seeing a counsellor in my school, and that helped me. Actually, sorry, it was after the doctors is when I then saw a counsellor in my school, provided from my school. And in my head, I was thinking, like, I like this. This is something that I feel like someone who doesn't know me, someone who I can just share everything to. But why have they offered me medication? I think I was confused, really. Yeah. After kind of discussing with my parents, and then my parents came to one of my doctor's appointments just to see what other options there were, and one of the options they recommended was CAMS. I was 17, just maybe within 7-8 months going to turn 18. So the minute I turned 18, I wouldn't have been eligible for CAMS. So they kind of like fast-tracked me into that route, and I had my initial assessment. It was just me and the therapist, and she wanted to learn all about my life, all the ins and outs, the good, the bad, anything that triggers me, just anything in my life, really. After having 2 sessions with her, her kind of final result was, I'd like us to do family therapy. I think that would be beneficial for your parents, and you come in and have a conversation with me and we can discuss these things. For 2 sessions, I was against it. I was like, I really, really don't want to do family therapy. I just don't feel comfortable opening up in front of my parents. And it's not that they were bad or they would do anything bad about it. It's that I'm the type of person who likes to deal with things alone. And I'd like to conquer things my own way before including my parents and worrying them and stressing them out, because I can't believe how much of a stress they must be feeling, that their 16-year-old child is feeling lonely, feeling anxious all the time. So we then tried it. It went exactly how I thought it would go. It wasn't something that I enjoyed at all. It was something that I knew I couldn't really be as open in. But they didn't give me any other option, really. I struggled with that quite a lot. I didn't enjoy the fact that I had to kind of sit there, that they were kind of pushing me in that direction. After saying that this isn't going to work for me, that was all the options they had left, and I think I had finished 3 sessions short of where I was supposed to finish. And I just left the CAM system and went through the school counsellor. So I went to Coventry University for my bachelor's, and they allow one session of therapy per term. So I saw my first year, I didn't. I thought to myself, let me get through this myself. Let me try and learn this new world of things. I've come to a different area. I think one of my things of going to Coventry was that I was far away from here, really far away from the people that I knew in school. And so my first year I didn't try it, and then my second year I think things started to kind of feel the same. I felt like I was just in this cycle, constant cycle. And so I put forward an application for counselling. They offered CBT, one session, and that, I wish I had more. I really wish I had more, because the solutions we kind of discussed, or the solutions I discussed really, because it was all from me, with guidance, and I needed it more frequently. And unfortunately in the world we live in, you have to pay for things like that, and as a university student it's not easy to get those funds. It's not easy to pay an insane amount just for regular sessions of therapy, which is something that I feel that everyone needs, and people need access to this a lot easier than what they actually give us. Because I remember they were saying, one of my university lecturers referred me on to IAPT, and it took ages. The referral was at least 6 to 7 months, and by the time I got to that point I was like, I felt like the system failed me, because at time when I needed to talk to someone I couldn't. I didn't have friends around that time that I felt comfortable opening up to. My bestest friend was all the way in London, and it was hard to come and see her so often. So for me it was really hard. But the counselling that I was offered in school did really, in university, did really help, and I wish I had it more. Initially, it was behind closed doors, out of my own choice. And the reason why that is because anxiety, mental health is just unheard of in the Asian community. And at that time, coming out saying that I was anxious seemed as though I was making an excuse for things. I was making an excuse for this, excuse for that. So dealing with that, I've asked my parents, is this something that we can just work with between us? As the years went on, I got into my final year of uni, and I was at my lowest point in life I think I had ever reached. And one thing that I felt as well, that my mum also encouraged, was that I was a role model to my cousins, to my nieces, that as a Muslim Pakistani girl I can move out and I can still succeed. And I think that pressure really got to me, as well as my living situation in a whole other city away from my parents. And from that point, I was, in my head, all I could think about was I want to be a role model for my cousins. I want my cousins to look up to me, especially on one side of the family where moving out was unheard of. The minute I had told my family that I wanted to move out was, honestly, it was the biggest shock ever. So facing that anxiety and moving out, I think in my head I thought that my parents would get blamed for it. But my mum was really insistent. My mum was very strong of like, Ameerah, these are real world problems that people in our family need to start acknowledging, because there are so many young girls in our family that if we don't talk about what I've experienced, the experiences I faced, the help I've gotten as well, these girls, they're going to have no one. They're going to have to suffer with these thoughts, these feelings alone. And even if I could be that one person to sit with them and just have an open conversation with them, that, are you guys okay? Like, one of my cousins has just gone to uni. How is uni? And you can be honest with me. Like, you don't have to be all nice about it and everything. So at that point I was like to my mum, like, yeah, okay, like, this is something that we should do. Something I should be open with. I then had a graduation party after I finished, and this was my mum's key moment. She loved it, and it was her time and my time as well to actually have a serious conversation with the whole family there, everyone I could know, my family in that room, and just talk about mental health, talk about what the struggles were and how it felt for them as parents, but also how it felt for me. And my mum asked me beforehand, she was like, okay, Ameerah, like, this is something I'd like to do. Are you comfortable with this? It took a few umming and ahhing, and I was like, I don't know, Mum. I think I feel really awkward. I don't like it. Firstly, I don't like attention on me. My mum's like, yeah, but it's your own graduation party. I was like, okay, fine. And then I thought about it, and the one thing she said to me was that my voice and her voice on behalf of parents could be what changes that system in our family. And instantly I was like, okay, like, let's do it. And I just remember being so emotional during that speech, and that was scary. No one knew what I went through, especially in my final year of uni. I just remember calling my mum and dad, crying my eyes out, and like just saying to them, I don't want to be here anymore. And that was the hardest thing to do, the hardest thing to say for someone who felt like I needed to take it all on myself. And actually at that point I was like, I need help. I can't take these weights on by myself. And I remember that night just calling my mum and dad and just saying, like, I need to get out of here. I hate this house. I was living in such an awful situation. And I think what worried me was I think I actually panicked them a lot more than I panicked myself. The first thing they said was, like, Ameerah, we're coming straight away. We're going to get you. You're not staying in that house anymore. We're going to get you. We're going to come and pick you up. But I said to them, it's like 11 p.m. at night. There's no way you guys can drive and go to work the next day. So then I luckily had a cousin who lives about 25-minute drive away from where I was staying. And my mum was like, she was my biggest supporter, actually, who I felt like I could confide in during my university experience, because it wasn't like a parent. It was actually someone who is a cousin, but felt more like my support at that moment in time. She was my rock during university because she was so close to me, and I knew that I could go and I could just take everything off my chest without actually like knowing my parents are going to hear anything or that anyone in the family will know. She saw me through the thick and thin of it, and that night, the next day, I went to her house and I just broke down. I just said to her that, like, I can't be here anymore. I've called my parents. I want to drop out of uni. I can't do my final year anymore. I can't push through it. I just faced this huge mental block that the people I was living with, I felt like bullied me. I felt like I couldn't, with that pressure, not being able to sleep at home, I wouldn't be able to succeed in my uni. And yeah, so it was a very difficult time I think I was dealing with and facing with, and my mum spoke about that in that graduation party and how it felt for her and my dad, and I think it opened up the eyes of a lot of people that sometimes your children don't talk to you because they're scared, so you need to approach them in a safe manner, in a comfortable manner where they'll be willing and open to talk to you. Yeah. Since I was 14 years old, this is where I want to be. It took me a long route. I got there in the end. I did my bachelor's. I then went into the master's in physio, and I think I went straight from BSc, my bachelor's, straight into my master's. I didn't give myself a break. That was hard, and I think that's why I've got to the point where I am right now, where I haven't been kind of in this cycle of going through job applications. I think I just, like, mentally, I just needed a break, which was interesting because I had worked so hard to get there, and now that I'm there, I feel like I just need a break. I love it. I love what I do. I love helping people, and all of my placements I enjoyed so much, like making a difference in people's lives, talking to these patients where they could confide in me, and I can hear their story. And one thing that I feel like I've learned is that you learn the most from the patient who's experiencing these things, and that's what taught me physiotherapy. I feel like going through my master's of 2 years and then coming to where I am now, I'm so happy that I have this qualification and that I can now use this to my own benefit. And I think in the future, one day, I would like to make a safe space open to women, particularly Asian women, where they feel comfortable to be seen, to be treated, and to feel like they can trust me, which I think is a big thing, especially for the older generations. And to me, that the thought that I can do that, it's exactly where I want to be. It's exactly what I want to do, and it just puts a huge smile on my face because it's so amazing, it's so fun, and I love like working with children as well, and it's just an amazing place. And I know for me it's just being like, okay, I really need to get these job hunts going now, but then I'm also like, I need a bit of a break. But I feel so relieved to be where I am right now, and to have finally, like after 23 years of education, gotten to where I am. I actually have a coffee shop, a local coffee shop called Cave, and I think that the community there is so nice. You come across so many different people, and I feel like it's a space where I can just be myself. I go there to study, I go there to work, I go there to just have a coffee and just sit and just kind of take my thoughts in a little bit. To me, it feels like a home away from home in a way, where I can just be free of everything in a way and just sit there and just be with myself and my mind. I love it, and the staff there are amazing. The people who come in and out, you get such a variety of people because it's in such a prime area of Shepherd's Bush. It's one of my favourite places to just be. So one of the biggest things I would say is don't take that weight on yourself. Don't feel like the pressure is all on you and that you have to live up to these standards, because those standards are only what you put on yourself. Take a breath, take a moment actually to see where you are in life and to live your life. And one thing that I feel is be grateful for where you are. And if you feel like you're struggling with friends, that's okay. Maybe that's meant to be. Maybe you're not meant to be friends with those people. Maybe this is a journey. I feel like my entire life that I've been through has been a huge, massive journey of self-development. And if I could say anything to my younger self, it would be just to be myself, stop changing myself just to be with particular people, to fit into certain situations, because eventually you will find the people that you want and that are made for you in life. And if I could speak to anyone going through similar things of what I went through and what I go through in my day-to-day life, is that look after yourself, because if you don't, you'll just consistently go around this spiral. And where is that escape out of that cycle if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not looking after your body, if you're not eating well, if you're not staying active and speaking to people who you trust and can confide in? That's something that I really, really wish I did as a child and wish I had growing up. I actually found that for me, being closer to my religion, all my problems go away. And growing up as a child, I felt like I didn't quite understand the purpose of Ramadan and the meaning behind it. And now that I sit here as a 23-year-old, I want to pray, because I feel like me doing my 5 prayers and more if I can, I'm having a conversation with God. That's how it feels like. I'm having a conversation with Allah, and I feel like all my pressure and the weight on my shoulders just gets uplifted. And it's the best feeling in the world just to know that one of the most amazing quotes from the Quran that really, really calls out for me is that with hardship comes ease. We have to go through these battles and we have to go through these things to learn ourselves, to be in a state and be in a life and a moment of our life where you feel like actually things are okay. And I really feel that during Ramadan, because it's just myself and God. and we have that conversation, and I'm going through this spiritual journey where I'm learning so much about the religion, and I'm learning the translation of the Quran and what things actually mean. And then I start to think, actually, like, this is why I have gone through this in life, and this is why I feel this way. And then to celebrate Eid at the end with my family, it's the biggest blessing in life, is that I have this family and that they support me and that they want me around them. And it's a really, really nice feeling to be able to go through this month of fasting. And it gets tiring. I think when you get to around the middle of Ramadan, you start to feel, either you get used to it or you just start to fatigue. And I've definitely hit that fatiguing point where I'm just getting really tired. I don't want to wake up in the morning. I just want to carry on with my day, and I'll be hungry, it's okay. And one thing I've tried to do is maintain my activity. So I'll make sure that I'm going to the gym, just to make sure that my mind is a bit more at peace, that my body's at peace, and that I won't do an insane workout, but that way I've got my body moving, and everything that's in my head just for a good hour just comes out. And this month has just been the best month for me to really, really feel that and just be happy with myself. Mental health to me is, there's so many things I can think of right now. What's the most thing that's pulling out to me? Mental health is being in touch with your emotions, being in touch with your feelings, and understanding and acknowledging that I'm going through this period of time. It's okay. I need to get through this barrier to then push forward and to move on to the next stage of life.